You ever been in a situation where someone disrespects you and everything inside of you wants to fire back? Your heart's racing, fist clenching, and your mind is running a mile a minute, coming up with the perfect response. But let me tell you something, sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is nothing at all. Now, I know that might sound crazy to some of you all. I know the natural reaction is to clap back, to stand up and let them know they got the wrong one. But I'm here to tell you something, silence is powerful. Yes, silence, your silence, when it's used the right way, has the ability to say more than words ever could. And more than that, it can be a weapon. It can be a tool you use to not only protect your peace, but to flip the script on disrespect. When you hold your tongue, when you refuse to react, you shift the power. Suddenly, they're the ones who look weak, scrambling to justify themselves. And that silence, it's eating them alive. We live in a world where everybody is quick to respond. Social media, 24-hour news, text messages, it's all instant. Someone throws shade, says something slick, and we feel like we got to hit back just as quick, just as hard, if not harder. But what happens when you don't? What happens when you sit back, stay quiet, and let that disrespect bounce off you like it never even hit you? I'll tell you what happens. They start killing themselves with their own words, their own actions. Your silence is not weakness, it's power. And in that power, there's strength, control, and a sense of self-worth that speaks louder than any comeback ever could. Let me explain what I mean when I say your silence is killing them. You see, people who disrespect you, they're looking for a reaction. They want to pull you into their chaos, their negativity. Disrespect is often a reflection of something going on in them, not you. It's a projection. They throw that disrespect at you, hoping you'll catch it and throw it back. They want you to engage in their game because in doing so, you're giving them power. But when you stay quiet, when you refuse to engage, you're taking that power away. You're forcing them to sit in the mess they made and deal with it themselves. And let me tell you something, that mess, those words they thought would hurt you, they start to poison them instead. It's like a boomerang, it comes right back to them. When you respond to disrespect, you step into their energy, you bring yourself down to their level. But when you maintain silence, you elevate yourself above the situation. It's hard for some people to understand because we're wired to think that strength means fighting back. We've been conditioned to believe that if someone disrespects you, the only way to prove your worth is to fight fire with fire. But here's the truth, fire can burn everything down, including you. Silence, though, silence disarms. It makes people uncomfortable because they don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to handle the fact that you're not playing the game they set up. And that discomfort, that's when they start to crumble. You ever notice how someone who disrespects you keeps coming at you when you respond? They escalate, they push harder, they dig deeper because they know they've got you in the fight. But if you stop responding, if you remove yourself from that back and forth, suddenly they're left alone with nothing but their own negativity. And here's the thing, most people don't know what to do with that kind of silence. They expect confrontation. They expect to be met with anger or frustration. So when they don't get it, they're left floundering, looking foolish. They thought they had you figured out, but now they're lost because you didn't play the role they cast you in. That's when their own disrespect starts to eat at them. Silence makes people reflect on their actions. When they're disrespectful and you don't respond, they're left alone with what they said, what they did, and there's no way to justify it in their heads. Your silence is like a mirror, forcing them to see themselves for who they really are. And let me tell you, a lot of people don't like what they see. That's where the real discomfort comes from. That's why they keep poking, trying to get you to react, because if you react, they can justify their own behavior. But without your reaction, they have to sit with the fact that they're in the wrong. And that realization is a heavy one. Now, I'm not saying it's easy. Staying silent when someone disrespects you isn't always the simplest route to take. Your instincts will tell you to defend yourself, to put that person in their place. And sometimes, yeah, it's going to feel like you're letting them get away with something. But you're not. You're playing a different game, a smarter game. You're showing them that their words don't have power over you. You're showing them that your sense of self isn't tied to their opinions, and that is the kind of strength that can't be shaken. In life, you have to pick your battles. Not every fight is worth fighting. There are some people, some situations that just aren't worth your time or energy. When you stay silent, you're conserving your power. You're saving that energy for things that actually matter. Every time you don't respond, you're making the statement, I'm above this. I'm better than this. And believe me, that hits harder than any comeback you could throw at them. People who thrive on disrespect and negativity are often deeply insecure. They project their issues onto others because it's easier than facing them. So when you stay quiet, you're giving them the space to wrestle with their own insecurities. You're not feeding into their need for validation, and that lack of validation kills them. Because that's what disrespect really is, a cry for validation. They want to feel powerful, important. And the only way they know how to do that is by tearing someone else down. But when you don't react, you're showing them that their tactics don't work on you. And eventually, they'll have to face the fact that their attempts to diminish you only diminish themselves. Silence speaks volumes. It tells the world that you're not moved by trivial things. It shows that you have enough self-respect and inner peace to rise above pettiness. And when you're not constantly defending yourself, you have more room to grow, more space to focus on the things that really matter. Because let's be real, your energy is precious. Your time is valuable. You don't need to waste it on people who don't deserve it. Your silence is an investment in yourself, in your peace of mind, in your long-term growth. When you respond to every slight, every disrespectful word, you're letting the world know that you're easily rattled, easily pulled off course. But when you maintain your silence, you're showing that you're grounded, that your sense of self isn't easily shaken. And that kind of confidence, it's rare. It's powerful. People take notice of that. The ones who respect you will admire it. The ones who don't, well, they'll eventually get tired of trying to tear you down when they realize it's not working. And look, I know what some of you are thinking, but what about standing up for myself? What about defending my honor? Here's the thing, standing up for yourself doesn't always mean speaking out. Sometimes it's standing firm in who you are, even in the face of disrespect. It's knowing that you don't need to explain yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Defending your honor doesn't mean getting into a verbal battle with someone who isn't worth your time. It means carrying yourself with dignity, regardless of how others behave. It's knowing that your worth isn't up for debate. When you stay quiet, you're not letting anyone walk over you. You're choosing to rise above the fray. You're refusing to let anyone drag you down to their level. And that's not weakness, that's strength. That's control. And people who can control their emotions, who can keep their peace in the midst of chaos, are the ones who truly win in the long run. They're the ones who come out on top. Silence can be uncomfortable, both for you and for the person who disrespects you. But discomfort is where growth happens. That silence gives you the space to reflect, to understand what's really on, and to decide how you want to move forward on your terms, not theirs. It's a moment of power where you get to choose how to handle the situation without being reactive, without being dragged into someone else's storm. So the next time someone disrespects you, I want you to think about this. Take a breath. Hold your tongue. Let them stew in their own mess. Let them feel the weight of their own words, because that silence is killing them. They'll never admit it, but deep down, they know they've lost the upper hand. They know they failed to pull you down. And in the end, that's what matters. You don't have to fight every battle. You don't have to respond to every slight. Your silence is your strength, your power, your declaration that you are not defined by someone else's negativity. So stay quiet, stay grounded, and watch as the world shifts around you. Because in that silence, you'll find a peace and a power that can't be touched. And that, my friends, is how you win. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying let people walk all over you. I'm not saying be a doormat. No, no, no. I'm saying understand the difference between reacting and responding. Reacting is emotional, it's quick, and it's often out of anger or hurt. Responding, though, that's calculated. That's intentional. And sometimes the best response is no response at all. Sometimes the best way to handle disrespect is to let your silence do the talking. Think about it, what happens when you're in an argument and the other person suddenly stops talking. They just go quiet. That silence, it's unnerving. It makes you question everything. Did you go too far? Did you say something you shouldn't have? That silence leaves space, and in that space, the person who disrespected you has to sit with their own behavior. They have to reckon with it, and most of the time they won't like what they see. They might not admit it, but deep down they feel it. Your silence forces them to deal with themselves. Now, I know what you're thinking, but Denzel, what if they keep coming at me? What if they don't stop? Listen, disrespectful people will keep poking and prodding as long as you give them a reason to. But if you're consistent in your silence, if you refuse to feed into their negativity, eventually they'll get tired. See, people like that thrive off of attention. They need an audience. But when you take away that audience, when you refuse to participate in their drama, they have nothing left. They're performing for an empty room, and that kills them. It forces them to look at themselves, and often what they find is that the problem was never you. It was always them. Now let's take a closer look at this. People who disrespect you often do so because they're looking for something. Validation, power, control, whatever it is. They're not getting it from somewhere else, so they try to take it from you. They want to trigger a reaction. That's their goal, whether they realize it or not. But when you stay calm, when you don't react, you're telling them without saying a word, you don't have that kind of control over me. Your words, your actions, they don't define me. And that's where the real power lies. You see, silence makes people uncomfortable. In a world where everyone is quick to speak, quick to defend themselves, quick to clap back, silence stands out. It forces the other person to confront the weight of their own words. It makes them realize that maybe, just maybe, they were out of line. And even if they don't have the maturity to admit it right away, that silence lingers. It sticks with them because they expected something from you and you didn't give it to them. They're left to wonder why. They start questioning their own behavior, and that kind of introspection, that's more powerful than any argument or comeback could ever be. Now, that doesn't mean silence is easy. Let me be clear, choosing silence over reaction takes strength. It takes control. We're human. We want to defend ourselves. We want to speak up when someone disrespects us. It's natural. But I'm telling you, that immediate need to respond, that's where we lose control. That's where we let someone else dictate our actions, our emotions. When you react without thinking, you're handing over your power. But when you pause, when you breathe, when you choose not to engage, you're reclaiming that power. Let me give you a little perspective. When someone disrespects you, they've already shown their hand. They've shown who they are. Now the question becomes, who are you? How are you going to respond? Because that's what matters. what they said or did, it's already done, but how you handle it, that's what defines you. And let me tell you, handling it with silence, with grace, with restraint, that speaks volumes. It says more about your character than any quick-witted comeback ever could. And here's another thing to think about: disrespect, negativity, anger, all of that is contagious. When you engage in it, when you let it pull you in, you become part of it. You become part of that cycle of negativity. But when you stay silent, when you refuse to give it your energy, break that cycle, you rise above it. And that's not just about protecting your peace, it's about setting an example. It's about showing the people around you that you don't have to stoop to that level. You don't have to play by their rules. You ever notice how people who are calm, who don't let every little thing get to them, they command respect? That's because they don't give away their power. They don't let the actions of others dictate how they move through the world. They move with intention. They choose their battles wisely. And when they do speak, their words carry more weight because they don't waste them. They don't get caught up in the noise. That's the kind of person you want to be. Someone who doesn't need to respond to every slight, every bit of disrespect, because you know your worth, and your worth isn't up for debate. Now, I'm not saying silence is always the answer. There are times when you need to speak up, when you need to stand your ground. But what I'm saying is, you have to know when those times are. You have to learn the difference between reacting out of emotion and responding with intention. Because trust me, not every situation requires your words. Sometimes silence says everything that needs to be said. And here's the beautiful thing about silence: it gives you space. Space to think, space to process, space to decide how you really want to handle the situation. When you react immediately, you're not giving yourself that space. You're acting on impulse, on emotion. But when you choose silence, even just for a moment, you're giving yourself the gift of clarity. You're allowing yourself the time to really consider your next move. And when you move from a place of clarity, from a place of intention, you move with power. There's something else to consider too. When you stay silent in the face of disrespect, you're teaching the people around you how to treat you. You're setting a standard. You're saying, I'm not going to lower myself to your level. I'm not going to engage in negativity. If you want to be in my presence, you're going to have to come correct. And let me tell you, people will rise to meet that standard, or they'll fall away. Either way, you're winning. Either way, you're protecting your peace, your energy, your dignity. Now, don't confuse silence with weakness. Don't think for a second that staying quiet means you're letting someone get away with disrespect. Silence is not passive. It's an active choice. It's a decision to not let someone else control your emotions, your actions. It's a decision to stay grounded in who you are, regardless of what's happening around you. And that kind of strength, that kind of self-control, that's powerful. That's what real confidence looks like. When you stay silent, you're not avoiding the situation. You're handling it in a way that's on your terms. You're taking control of the narrative. And in doing so, you're preserving your energy for the things that truly matter. You're not wasting your time or your breath on people or situations that don't deserve it. And here's the thing people will notice. They'll see that you don't get rattled easily. They'll see that you're not someone who can be baited into arguments or petty back and forths. They'll recognize that your silence isn't a sign of submission, but a sign of strength. And over time, that will command respect. People will learn that if they want your attention, if they want your words, they're going to have to come correct. They're going to have to approach you with respect, because that's what you've shown them. You demand through your actions, through your silence. So the next time someone disrespects you, take a moment. Don't react right away. Let that silence hang in the air for a bit. Let them sit with their own behavior. And in that silence, you'll find your power. You'll find your control. And trust me, they'll feel it too. It's not about letting people walk over you. It's not about ignoring the disrespect. It's about choosing how and when you engage. It's about knowing that not every battle is worth fighting. It's about understanding that sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. And let me tell you something else, your silence isn't just killing them, it's freeing you. It's freeing you from the emotional roller coaster they're trying to take you on. When you choose not to engage, you're protecting your peace. And in this life, peace is priceless. It's more valuable than any argument you could win, more powerful than any words you could say in retaliation. Protecting your peace is the ultimate form of self-respect. I've been in situations, both in my career and my personal life, where people have disrespected me. And I've learned over the years that not every battle is worth fighting. Some battles you win by walking away. Some wars you win by staying silent. The moment you choose not to give someone the satisfaction of your reaction, you've already won. You've taken control of the situation. And more importantly, you've taken control of yourself. But it's not easy, is it? It's not easy to stay quiet when someone disrespects you, especially when that disrespect cuts deep. It hurts. It stings. But here's the thing you have to ask yourself: is this worth my energy? Is this worth my time? Is this person worth me stepping out of character for? 9 times out of 10, the answer is no. And when you realize that, it becomes easier to stay quiet, because you understand that silence doesn't mean defeat. It means you've decided that your peace, your self-worth, is more important than their words. You see, life has a way of presenting us with people who try to provoke us, who want to pull us into their drama. They throw out comments, insults, or passive remarks, expecting us to react. But let me tell you, the game is to push your buttons. And if you allow them to succeed, you're giving away your power. You're letting them dictate your emotions and control how you feel. So when you choose silence, you're flipping the script. You're saying, you don't get to control me. You don't get to dictate how I respond. In those moments, when you choose to remain silent, you're making a statement not just to them, but to yourself. You're saying, I am above this. I won't allow your negativity to infiltrate my peace. And that's powerful. When you operate from a place of peace, you can handle whatever life throws your way. You become resilient. You become unshakable. Let me share a story. Early in my career, I faced criticism and disrespect that cut deep. I was told I wasn't good enough, that I wouldn't make it. Those words hit hard, and believe me, my initial reaction was to fight back. I wanted to prove them wrong right then and there. But I learned something crucial in those moments. Engaging with that negativity would only drag me down to their level. Instead, I chose to focus on my craft, to invest my energy into honing my skills rather than engaging in battles that wouldn't serve me. And you know what? That silence became my strength. I let my work speak for itself, and in doing so, I found my peace. When you stay silent in the face of disrespect, you're not just protecting your peace, you're also giving yourself the space to rise above. You're allowing your mind to clear, your heart to heal, and your spirit to thrive. You're not weighed down by the toxicity of someone else's words. Instead, you're free to channel that energy into something positive, something that nourishes you. And that's where real growth happens. But understand this, it takes practice. It's not a skill you develop overnight. It requires a commitment to yourself, to your own self-respect. You have to constantly remind yourself that your worth isn't dictated by others' opinions of you. Your value is intrinsic, rooted in who you are, not in what others say. When you internalize that truth, it becomes easier to stay silent when disrespect comes your way. Let's talk about how silence can transform you. When you refuse to engage, you're not just avoiding conflict, you're actively choosing your path. You're taking control of the narrative. Silence allows you to observe, to reflect, and to strategize your next move. You're no longer in reaction mode. You're in observation mode, and that's a powerful shift. You can decide whether to speak up at a later time or simply let it go. But make no mistake, your silence communicates a message. People around you notice when you refuse to be pulled into negativity. They see the strength it takes to stay calm, and often they will begin to respect you for it. You're setting a standard for how you want to be treated, and that's important. When you carry yourself with dignity and grace, others will eventually understand that they can't treat you any old way. Your silence sends a clear message: I know my worth and I won't settle for less. And here's the kicker: when you choose silence, you're also giving others an opportunity to reflect on their behavior. Your quietness forces them to confront what they've done. They have to sit with the weight of their own words and actions, and that's often more uncomfortable for them than any confrontation you could initiate. You're giving them a chance to realize their mistake, to see how their disrespect affects others. And sometimes that's all it takes for them to change. But it's important to remember that silence doesn't mean you're accepting disrespect. It doesn't mean you're allowing people to walk all over you. It's about choosing your battles wisely and understanding that not every situation requires a fight. Some battles aren't worth the energy they demand. By refusing to engage, you're taking control over your reactions and making a conscious decision to prioritize your peace. As you practice this art of silence, you'll find that your emotional resilience grows. You become less reactive, less affected by the chaos around you. You learn to rise above it, to see the bigger picture. And that's liberating. You're no longer tethered to someone else's negativity. You're free to navigate your path with purpose and intention. Let's circle back to the idea of self-respect. Protecting your peace is the ultimate act of self-love. It's about understanding that you deserve to live a life free from unnecessary drama and conflict. You owe it to yourself to create an environment where respect is the norm. When you demand respect through your silence, you're showing others how to treat you. You're setting the standard. And that's not just powerful, it's transformative. Now, I know it's tempting to jump into the fray when someone disrespects you. The instinct to defend yourself, to retaliate, is strong. But I want you to think about this. What do you gain from that fight? Do you really think winning the argument will make you feel better? More often than not, it won't. Instead, it can leave you feeling drained, frustrated, and even more upset. But when you choose to stay quiet, you regain your power. You maintain your dignity. You protect your peace. And that's a victory that lasts long after the moment of conflict has passed. In the end, silence is not just about what you don't say. It's about what you choose to value. You're valuing your peace, your self-worth, and your emotional well-being. You're saying, I will not let your disrespect define me. I refuse to engage in your negativity. I will rise above. And that attitude, my friends, is a game changer. So the next time you find yourself facing disrespect, remember this: your silence is not just killing them, it's freeing you. It's your shield, your sanctuary, and your path to true strength. Embrace it. Let it empower you. Because in this life, you have the right to protect your peace and to choose how you respond to the world around you. Your silence speaks volumes, and in that silence, you'll discover a power that can change everything. Now, let's talk about boundaries for a minute. Silence doesn't mean you don't set boundaries. It doesn't mean you let people continue to disrespect you. No, silence is a form of boundary setting. It's you saying, I'm not going to engage with this. I'm not going to lower myself to your level. And when you do that consistently, people start to get the message. They realize they can't get a rise out of you. And slowly but surely, they'll stop trying. Silence can be your greatest weapon, but only if you understand how to wield it. You have to be strong in your silence. You can't sit there fuming, thinking about all the things you wish you said. No, that defeats the purpose. Silence, when used correctly, is about detachment. It's about letting go of the need to defend yourself because you know who you are. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. The people who matter, the ones who truly know you, they don't need to see you engage in a back and forth to know your worth. And the ones who don't, well, they're not worth your time anyway. Think about it this way: when you stand firm in your silence, you're saying to the world, I won't let your disrespect define me. And that's powerful. You're asserting control over your narrative. In a world where so many are quick to react and retaliate, your ability to remain silent in the face of provocation sets you apart. It shows a level of maturity, strength, and self-awareness that many people struggle to attain. And let's not forget the long game here. See, when you stay quiet in the face of disrespect, it may not feel like a victory in the moment. It may feel like you're letting them get away with something. But trust me, time has a way of revealing the truth. Over time, people will see who you are, and they'll see who they are. The truth always comes to light, and when it does, your silence will have spoken louder than any argument you could have made. It's like a slow burn. It doesn't happen overnight, but eventually it will shine through. Let me share something with you. In life, you will be tested. You will be disrespected. You will face situations where people try to belittle you, diminish your value, or make you question your worth. That's inevitable. But what defines you is not what they say to you, but how you respond, or in this case, how you don't respond. There's a certain strength, a certain dignity in staying silent when someone tries to pull you down. It's a quiet power that says, I don't need to engage with this because I know who I am. When you choose silence, you're choosing yourself. You're choosing to rise above the noise, the drama, the negativity. And in doing so, you're choosing peace. You're choosing strength. You're choosing to live in a way that doesn't depend on the opinions or actions of others. And that, my friends, is real power. Now, let's dig deeper into why this is essential. You see, every time you allow someone to pull you into their drama, every time you react impulsively out of anger or hurt, you're giving away pieces of yourself. You're allowing them to chip away at your sense of self-worth, your peace of mind. But when you decide to remain silent, you're holding on to those precious pieces. You're saying, you don't get to take my joy. You don't get to take my peace. Imagine a situation where someone insults you. You have two choices. You can either react and engage, or you can choose silence. If you react, even if you feel justified, you might say something you later regret. You get pulled into a back and forth, an argument that serves no purpose other than to escalate the negativity. But when you choose silence, you're giving yourself the time to process. You're giving yourself the space to breathe, to think, and to choose how you want to respond, not just to that person, but to life itself. When you engage, you're on the defensive. You're reacting from a place of hurt, and often that leads to saying things you don't mean. But in silence, you regain control. You can observe the situation, assess it, and choose your next steps with clarity. You have the opportunity to decide what matters to you and how you want to carry yourself moving forward. Silence allows you to reflect on your own values. What do you stand for? What do you believe in? When someone disrespects you, it can feel like an attack on those values. But if you engage in the chaos, you might lose sight of what's important to you. You might start to question your own worth or your principles. But silence gives you the space to reaffirm those values. It helps you remember who you are and what you stand for. Now, let's talk about the art of emotional detachment. This doesn't mean you don't care. It means you're choosing not to let someone else's words dictate your emotions. It's about recognizing that their disrespect is a reflection of their character, not yours. And when you can separate yourself from their negativity, you're freeing yourself from the weight of their words. You're lifting that burden off your shoulders. And in doing so, you're allowing yourself to soar. And yes, it takes practice. It takes courage to sit in silence when every instinct tells you to fight back. But as you practice, you'll find it becomes easier. You'll begin to develop a sense of emotional resilience. You'll learn to identify triggers and recognize when someone is trying to pull you into the drama. And that awareness is a game changer. It's the difference between reacting, responding, between chaos and peace. Now, let's bring it back to the idea of boundaries. When you set a boundary through silence, you're telling others that you won't tolerate disrespect. You're establishing a standard for how you want to be treated. And when you do this consistently, you teach people how to treat you. They begin to understand that disrespect will not be tolerated, and they'll learn to think twice before they try to pull you into their negativity. But understand that setting boundaries doesn't mean you have to be cold or unkind. You can still be respectful while maintaining your silence. It's about creating an inner strength that allows you to stand firm without engaging in conflict. You can be the bigger person. You can choose to protect your peace while still treating others with respect. And in doing so, you'll find that you gain respect in return. Let me tell you, people notice. They see the way you carry yourself. They see the strength in your silence, and often inspires them to rethink their approach. You may not realize it in the moment, but your calmness in the face of disrespect can set an example for others. It encourages them to rise above their own pettiness, and that's how change begins. Now, as I'm talking about this, I want you to reflect on your own experiences. Think about a time when someone disrespected you. How did you respond? Did you engage? Did you react emotionally? Or did you find the strength to remain silent? How did that silence serve you in that moment? As you think about those experiences, consider what you learned. Every encounter is a lesson, a chance to grow and evolve. And if you find yourself in a situation where you didn't respond the way you wanted to, don't beat yourself up over it. This journey isn't about perfection. It's about progress. It's about recognizing your triggers and learning how to navigate them. Every time you choose silence over chaos, you're taking a step forward. You're building that emotional muscle, and eventually you'll become a master at it. But remember, it's not just about how you handle disrespect from others. It's also about how you treat yourself. When you choose silence, you're showing yourself that you value your peace. You're affirming that your worth isn't contingent upon how others perceive you. You're recognizing that you have the power to define your own reality, and that's liberating. As you embark on this journey of self-discovery, allow yourself to embrace your silence. Don't fear it. Don't see it as a weakness. See it for what it truly is, a form of strength. It's an opportunity to reconnect with yourself, to reclaim your power, and to cultivate a sense of inner peace that is unshakable. When you do that, you'll find that the world around you begins to shift. You'll attract people who respect you, who uplift you, and who recognize the power of your silence. You'll cultivate relationships that are built on mutual respect and understanding. And that's a beautiful thing. In closing, I want to remind you that you have the power to control your narrative. You have the strength to choose how you respond to the world around you. Silence is not a sign of weakness. It's a profound statement of self-worth. It's a testament to your strength, your resilience, and your ability to rise above the noise. So the next time someone tries to disrespect you, remember this: your silence is your shield, your sanctuary, and your pathway to peace. Embrace it, wield it wisely, and watch as it transforms your life. So the next time someone disrespects you, I want you to remember this: your silence is not weakness. Your silence is not defeat. Your silence is power. It's strength, it's control, and it's killing them more than any words ever could. Let them sit in their disrespect. Let them deal with their own negativity. Don't give them the satisfaction of dragging you down with them. Stand tall in your silence and let it speak for you. Because at the end of the day, the most important voice you'll ever listen to is your own. And when you stay quiet, when you refuse to engage in disrespect, you're telling yourself and the world that you're worth more than that. You're worth peace, you're worth respect, and you're worth staying true to who you are. Stay quiet, stay strong, stay you.